I'd like to call the August 25th, 2026 City Council meeting, special meeting, to order. City Clerk Ben Lane, may I please have a roll call?
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor Lisa Borowski.
Present.
Vice Mayor Mary Ann McCallum. Council members Jan Jaboskis.
Here.
Barry Graham.
Here.
Adam Quasman. Kathy Littlefield.
Here.
And Solange Whitehead.
Here.
City Manager Greg Caton.
Here.
City Attorney Louis Santea.
Present.
City Treasurer Sonia Andrews.
Here.
And the clerk is present. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. This afternoon, we have the delightful opportunity to hear from several of our boards and commissions as to their 2025 annual reports, which will include presentations, discussion, and possible direction regarding key accomplishments, major actions taken, upcoming opportunities, and/or outcomes. And I'm going to ask City Clerk Ben Lane for a brief introduction.
Thank you, Mayor Borowski. Honorable Mayor and City Council members, last year the Council began having most of our boards and commissions present their annual reports to the Council. This process was well received and provided boards and commissions with an opportunity to have more direct interaction with the Council. These presentations did take place over several Council meetings. Based on Council feedback provided at an April 2026 work study session, we made several changes to this process, including scheduling these presentations as special meetings and having the boards present during 2 special meetings rather than multiple City Council meetings. The Industrial Development Authority was also added to the list of presenters. We will not be including boards that deal with personnel issues such as the Judicial Appointments Advisory Board and Public Safety Personnel, a Retirement Board, or bodies that are somewhat independent of the city, such as the Municipal Property Corporation. Additionally, the Budget Review Commission presents at a separate council meeting to coincide with the budget development process. Today we have 8 boards and commissions presenting. The remaining boards will present at a special meeting scheduled for October 6th. After the presentations are completed, the annual report for all boards and commissions will be added as a consent agenda item for council consideration and possible acceptance. As this process is fairly new, any comments would be appreciated for future planning purposes. I would like to thank the mayor, council, and board and commission members for their feedback on this process. I would also like to thank City Manager Greg Caton and his team for their partnership on this process, and Deputy City Clerk Shannon Beck for her efforts in working with the boards and commission members and staff liaisons to prepare for these meetings. Finally, I am very appreciative of the board members and staff liaisons who worked on these presentations today. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you very much. I'm going to run through the order so you're prepared. First, we have the Building Advisory Board of Appeals, followed by Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, Historic Preservation Commission, Human Services Advisory Commission, and Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board, those 2 combined, and Industrial Development Authority, Lost Trust Fund Board, Parks and Recreation Commission, and Veterans Advisory Commission will round us out. So starting with the Building Advisory Board of Appeals, I would like to invite you up. I note that Staff Representative Michael Clack, who I see walking up to the podium here, and Chair Michael Kravitz will join us and address us. Welcome.
There we go. Good afternoon, Mayor and City Council. My name is Michael Clack. I am the building official that is the liaison to the Building Advisory Board of Appeals. With me today is the chair of the Building Advisory Board of Appeals, Michael Kravitz, and I'd like to give him just a brief moment to, if he has any words or anything he'd like to say.
Good afternoon, Madam Mayor and members of the council. My name is Michael Kravitz. I am chairman currently of the Building Advisory Board of Appeals, and on my first term I was appointed as, or voted as, vice chair. It's been an honor and a pleasure to serve. We take our duties and responsibilities very seriously, and we look forward to continuing with that in the next year or so.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. So the first slide here is the purpose and the makeup of the board. And basically, the purpose of the board is to hear and decide appeals of orders, decisions, or determinations made by the building official relative to the application and interpretation of city-applied building construction codes. The board also makes recommendations regarding the adoption and amendment of the construction codes to the City Council. Building Advisory Board of Appeals consists of 7 public members appointed at large by the City Council. The members are qualified to serve based on experience and training pertaining to building constructions. And as an example of that, our chair is a registered architect, and so he's well qualified to serve on the board. Major accomplishments and actions taken this past year. We had discussion regarding Senate Bill 1182, which was signed into law regarding construction start time and possible amendments to Section 117, which is titled Construction Activity of the 2021 International Building Code, and to change it as follows. The summer hours in Scottsdale are from April 1st to October 31st, and currently, or before this bill was signed into law, no work could begin before 6 a.m. The state legislature changed that to 5 a.m., and also they allow construction to start at least an hour earlier for construction pours at that time. This would be, and the work is supposed to stop at 7 p.m. Monday through Friday, and it could continue a little bit after 7 p.m. on Saturdays. And the state law prohibits counties and municipalities from enforcing or enacting any noise construction ordinance or regulation that prohibits general activity from May 1st to October 15th. So what we did was, our current ordinance falls within that parameter, but we're a little bit more liberal because we start April 1st. So the only thing we had to do was change the start time. And so a vote was taken and unanimously approved to conform to state law. This will be an amendment that will go into, that we will be proposing to the City Council a little bit later on as part of our adoption of the 2024 building codes, which is the next slide. It's kind of a segue into the next slide on current and future opportunities, challenges, or outcomes. So one of the things that we want to do is consider adoption of the 2024 codes. Currently, we are under the 2021 code. And this is an industry standard codes. They're typically updated on a 3-year cycle. The last update was adopted on September 20th, 2022 by the City Council with an effective date of January 1st, 2023. We anticipate bringing future code adoption package forward to the city for consideration by the end of 2027. So basically, what we have to do is we have to work on our amendments, take a look at what's new in the 2024 code for us, amend that, see what amendments are still applicable, what other amendments need to go into place. We bring that to the board in a public meeting, and we invite the public to come in and comment on that. It's a pretty robust meeting with different people that come in from the industry. They give comments. We consolidate all of that, and at the end of the day, the board makes their recommendation to the City Council for the adoption of those codes along with the amendments, and then we bring that to you all for final action. With that, that concludes our presentation this afternoon. Are there any questions or comments or any feedback? We're all ears.
Can you go back to slide 1? The second one, sorry.
Second one?
Yes. So I have a question. This is staff. When it goes through staff and an applicant doesn't like the decision, they can appeal to your board.
Yes, ma'am.
So what percentage, so how does that process work? If they appeal to you, and you find that it should be overturned, I'm going to use court terms I'm familiar with, do you remand it back then to staff, or do you make a corrective decision?
The way it works is if somebody disagrees with my application or interpretation of the code, we have a discussion about that. If we cannot come to a consensus, they have the right to appeal to the Building Advisory Board of Appeals. We'll go to them, we'll present what we feel like the interpretation of the code is. They make their presentation. The one thing that we caution the board on is that they cannot waive a code requirement. Only the city council could do that. So it's mainly an interpretation or the application of the code. If the board rules in favor of the applicant, then we turn around and we say, okay, this is how this is to be interpreted, and we pass that on to staff and we move on. If the board decides that staff is correct, then the applicant has the right to then appeal to the city council, and we would do it all over again, and then we would go based on whatever the city council decides at that point.
Okay, so it just boils down to interpretation. And then do you see, I guess this is a better question for the chair, do you see, this isn't the right term, a lot of repeat offenses in terms of interpretation? Like, and if you do, what do you do with those? If you see something that comes up maybe frequently or has come up several times, what, as a board, do you do? Do you take that up with staff? Do you issue a memo? What's the next step?
So, Madam Mayor, we really do not see very much at all. We have a building administrator here, building official, who is quite good at interpreting the code and working with the people in the construction industry and homeowners and whomever else, so that those issues are resolved prior to coming before the board. And I'll just say my 45 years of practice, coming before a Board of Appeals many, many times and serving on other boards, it's very rare that a board will overturn a building official or a fire official unless their decision or interpretation is unbridled. But to answer your question, we have not seen any of that happen.
Okay. And I can't recall seeing an appeal come to the council in the last 18 months.
Yeah.
So you must be doing a heck of a job.
We try. I've been here 22 years, and we have not had a challenge to any of our interpretations that had to go to the Building Advisory Board of Appeals. Staff works very hard in talking with the engineers, architects, whomever, and we show them what the code says and what the intent of the code. And if there is room to make some adjustments, we will. And it's based on, for example, they want to use a product that's not called out in the code, but it's equivalent to what the code requires. And when they establish that, then we pretty much go with what they're proposing.
Okay, and then my last question, how do you, as a lead staff member, top staff member in the department, how do you navigate the role as objective board liaison for the appellate board that would be the appellate board of your division? How do you navigate that? That's a big question,
yeah.
But maybe there's some protocol that you have.
Yeah, when it comes down to the agenda, I try to talk with the chair as to what should go on the agenda, what they're interested in looking at, what may be, if they have some questions. And so we'll put that on the agenda, we'll bring it from the board and have discussion on that. Sometimes they have had some modifications to the code or amendments to the code that they would want us to consider. We would convene, we would give our interpretation of the code, and basically talk about what the pros and cons are. And in many cases, it's just we try to be neutral on that, unless we see that there is a problem that the code is trying to address. And so that's how we handle
Okay.
that.
And I'm sure it helps to be surrounded by a board full of professionals that come from different disciplines that can push back if needed, or if appropriate, I should say. Okay, that's it. I know that was a lot of questions. Vice Mayor McKellen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you both. Thank you for serving, Chair, and for Mr. Clack. So you said there's an exception on occasion to the 5 a.m. rule. Would that be something that someone would request, like a cement pour, something that may need to be at a cooler period of time, say even 3 a.m.? How often does that happen?
That happens pretty often, even before the state law went into effect. And even now, the state law only allows 4 a.m. pours. So, in fact, we just considered a concrete pour for a project where they wanted to start at 1 o'clock in the morning. So what we do is we check to see what residential occupancies are within 750 feet of the construction area. And that's the first thing we do. And then the next thing we ask is, have you had discussions with that neighborhood, and have you passed out flyers to let them know that this is happening, when it's happening, and how long? And so we successfully had a concrete pour. I believe it started at, if my memory serves me correctly, about 2 o'clock in the morning for the new fire station where they're making some additions. They wanted to have the concrete pour starting about 1 o'clock in the morning or 2 o'clock in the morning, simply because it's cooler and the concrete sets up and reacts much better. And so we made sure that they let the neighborhood know, and then we make sure that all of the lights are away from the neighborhood, all of the equipment that's there, when you back up, they cannot have any backup beepers. They either have to have flagmen to direct or flashers to keep the noise down. And we didn't receive any complaints on that at all. So
Thank you. I asked, I knew the answer, but I wanted to make sure because people ask, and that is one of those permit things that people may be unaware of, and that really has to do with, the chemical makeup of obviously the cement. But the fact that they notify the neighbors is where I appreciate you explaining that, because that's the important part of that. So thank you both for your service.
Okay.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Similar topic, but more on the human end. So HOAs are not required to maintain those hours under the state law doesn't apply to HOAs, is that correct?
As I understand it, the HOAs may have something more stringent than what the state law may have. They may not want anybody to start until 5 o'clock, but I think that the state law would supersede that, if I understand it correctly. But if they wanted to have it, say for example, if they wanted to pour at 3 o'clock, the HOA could agree to that and tell them, yes, they can do that.
Okay, because I did get a complaint, so I'll follow up with that person. We thought that the answer we got was that the HOA was exempt or somehow could. Okay, I'll follow up with you on that one.
Not to my knowledge.
Great, that's a good answer. Thank you so much.
All right, I don't see any other questions or comments. Thank you, gentlemen.
Okay.
Really appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Michael, really appreciate your service as well, Michael. All right, next we have Citizens Bond Oversight Committee. And I see, let's see, Staff Representative Aaron Walsh and Vice Chair Daryl Kamisu. Well, welcome.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Council. My name is Aaron Walsh. I am the staff liaison for the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee, and this is our Vice Chair, Daryl Kamisu, and I will let him introduce himself.
Hi, I'm Daryl Kamisu. I'm the Vice Chair for the Bond Oversight Committee, and this is my first term, and I'm here today to just provide an overview of what we've done over the last year.
Terrific, thank you.
All right, we go to the next slide. All right, the Citizens Bond Oversight Committee was actually formed after the 2015 bond election. We had a group of citizens called the Citizens Bond Task Force that helped develop that bond program, and once it passed, the City Council made them a quasi-permanent committee as long as we had a bond issue open, which is why we are a committee and not a board or a commission. In 2020, after the 2019 bond election, the duties of this group expanded, and they now oversee any bond issuance and the monies associated with that. There are 7 members, and they are appointed to a 2-year term. So really, the charge of this group is to oversee the dollars. Not as much the projects, but the dollars attached to them. They receive reports on the city's progress of the implementation program, and that implementation schedule was developed and voted on by City Council. They review any proposed changes to the program, any cancellation of projects, any modifications of scope, anything that we promise the voters we are going to do. If there's a change to it, it goes through this group, and then it comes to you. And their final charge then is to provide any comments to the City Council with respect to the bond program as they deem appropriate. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to our Vice Chair to tell you a little bit about what we've accomplished this year.
Okay, so in terms of the key accomplishments that our committee covered this year, one of the first ones is transferring funds from completed projects, shifting them over to other projects that might need the money. And it has to be within the same question of the bonds. The second one is we will listen to and allocate bond interest that's earned to projects and distribute the money if needed. And the third one is essentially monitoring the status of these projects that were called out in the 2019 election as they move through design and construction, as Allison Timko provides to us. Okay, next slide. Okay, during the last year, our major actions, we approved the transfer of $153,000 from question 2, which was installing solar systems, North Corporation campus, to question 2, project 59, the solar systems at the Civic Center campus. And question 2 is part of the community spaces and infrastructure category. We also recommended to the council to eliminate the project that was going to install solar heating system for El Dorado Pool. It just didn't seem like it met the needs. Okay. Next slide. In terms of major actions taken, we talked about, for question 1, which is the category Parks, Recreation, and Senior Services, allocating a little over $500,000 for the Thompson Peak Dog Park, which is about to open, or I guess has opened. For question 2, again, that's community spaces and infrastructure. We allocated $341,000 to build a 200-space parking lot off of 75th to serve the City Court and Scottsdale Stadium. And then the other project in the same question was to repair the lakes and irrigations at Vista del Camino Park and the Indian Bend Wash, and that was just under $200,000. So for question 3, there was almost $1.8 million that was divvied between these projects, and question 3 focuses on public safety and technology. The first one is to renovate the Via Linda Police Station to increase efficiency. That was about $1.2 million. The second one is renovate and expand the Civic Center Jail and downtown police facility to meet demand, $300,000. And the third one, modernize and expand the police and fire training facility, just under $300,000 also. Next slide. In terms of upcoming opportunities, challenges, or outcomes, once the projects are completed, if they haven't used all of the money that was divvied up for them, we might move it to another project as long as it stays within the same question group. If there's any changes to the project scope, they'll be presented and we'll evaluate if we think it's following the idea of the original plan. And if there's not enough bond funds to complete a project, our committee will be asked to make a recommendation on how we should proceed. All right. Any questions?
I don't have any at this time. Councilman Graham.
Thank you, Mayor. Good presentation. I wish we maybe I don't know how we do this, but it would be good to maybe get more reports or something from the bond oversight committee, because it'd be good to see, we watch these projects a lot. The 2019 bond election, we just opened the dog parks, the Thompson Peak Dog Park. Where are we from, a funding standpoint? How much bond, authorization is there left to sell? How many projects of the 58 or 59 projects, where are we in that? We do a lot of that with the Budget Review Commission, and they play a role, but I think there is maybe a little more opportunity to interface a little more with the city council, because we were at the ribbon cutting for Thompson Peak Dog Park, and I'm like, Parks and Rec commissioners were there, and I'm like, why weren't the bond oversight, committee members here? And everything has its place, but I do think that there is an opportunity maybe to have a little more discourse. So thank you for your time and for serving.
Thank you. And I do have a question. Do you get in, and it seemed like based on your overview of what the board's decisions are focused on, if it seems almost more financial than, kind of subjective in terms of projects. Is that by definition in your charter?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This committee meets quarterly. One of my standard lines is construction moves really slowly between the design and the construction and the process. So they do oversee we are done with the 2015, the 2019 projects, and they do meet on a quarterly basis. Any recommendation they make comes to you. So every action that we just outlined, it comes to you during your regular meetings. So we absolutely hear that we could put out some maybe biannual updates on where we are with the program. And then anything you see that comes out of our quarterly meetings absolutely comes to the city council.
But more so just, or almost exclusively fiscal?
Exclusively fiscal.
Okay. All right. Thank you very much. Great presentation. We appreciate your service. Next, we have Historic Preservation Commission, and we will hear from Staff Representative Adam Yaron and Chair Mark Estes. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Joining me this afternoon is Mark Estes, Chair of the Commission, who has served since May of 2024. Together, we're pleased to present the highlights from the Commission's 2025 annual report, which was approved earlier this year. The Historic Preservation Commission consists of 7 members appointed by City Council. Its purpose is to help protect and preserve Scottsdale's historic and archaeological resources. The Commission's responsibilities include maintaining the Scottsdale Historic Register, reviewing proposed changes to historic properties, and making recommendations on historic property district rezonings to both Planning Commission and City Council. The Commission also oversees incentive programs that support the rehabilitation and continued use of historic properties, and advises City Council on broader preservation matters and other assigned topics. Commission members bring experience in preservation-related fields such as architecture, construction, history, archaeology, planning, real estate, and historic preservation law. This range of expertise supports the Commission's review of both individual properties and broader preservation initiatives.
Thank you, Adam. In 2025, the Commission continued its core preservation responsibilities while also responding to the emerging policy issues and expanding public access to Scottsdale's historic resources. The Commission reviewed and acted on several certificate of appropriateness requests involving properties within locally designated historic districts. These reviews helped ensure that proposed changes remain consistent with the applicable preservation standards and the character of each district. The commission also considered recent changes in state law related to accessory dwelling units and discussed their potential implications for historic property designated districts and properties. In addition, the commission reviewed the middle housing text amendment developed in response to House Bill 2721 and considered how the proposed changes could affect Scottsdale's historic preservation interests. Finally, the commission advanced public-facing preservation resources through the development and posting of the early town building story map. The story map provides an interactive way for residents and visitors to learn about buildings and places associated with Scottsdale's early development. Next slide, thank you. The commission remains committed to increasing public awareness of Scottsdale's heritage and to identifying, recognizing, and protecting the historic and cultural resources that reflect the city's past. Looking ahead, the commission's work will continue to focus on 3 areas. First, program administration. This includes reviewing certificates of appropriateness and historic residential exterior rehabilitation requests, evaluating relevant preservation regulations, maintaining the Scottsdale Historic Register, and considering opportunities to improve program processes. Second, advocacy and coordination. The Commission will continue working with local, state, and regional preservation partners to support policies, incentives, funding opportunities, and other tools that advance historic preservation. Third, public outreach. The Commission will continue expanding public-facing resources and communications to help residents, property owners, and community groups better understand Scottsdale's historic resources and the value of preserving them. Through these efforts, the Commission will continue supporting the preservation and enhancement of the buildings, structures, districts, and places that best represent Scottsdale's history. In closing, thank you for the opportunity to present this evening, and thank you for your time. We welcome your questions, comments, or feedback as we continue our work to protect and celebrate Scottsdale's heritage.
Thank you. I see Vice Mayor McKellen has something to say.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen, for your service. I do have a question. How many historic neighborhoods are there in Scottsdale, and are there any that are on the verge of becoming, if that makes sense?
Adam.
And what is that definition?
Vice Mayor McAllen, Mayor Borowski, members of City Council, we have approximately 28 districts that have the HP overlay. Of that, there are residential subdivisions that I want to say make up about 4 or 5 of those districts. Our general rule of thumb within the zoning ordinance is that a property needs to be at least 50 years of age in order to be considered for an HP district designation. We do have a growing number of interests from residents who are seeking potential HP designation, mostly in and around the Old Town area. I would say maybe some smaller multifamily kind of garden apartment type developments that are seeking either the possibility to leverage HRER funding and or seek some other tax advantage that may be available to them. Also, in those types of circumstances, there are not a lot of regulatory controls for how a property might look, and so that's another benefit that those residents are looking for by getting the HP designation.
Thank you. I know the city of Phoenix had quite an ordeal with their historic neighborhoods after the ADU law. It could have decimated their historic neighborhoods, so I know they fought very hard. So please, if anything comes up where you need assistance, please let us know. Thank you for your service.
Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor. Thanks, guys. But those laws, I don't think any were, I know they were lobbying hard for some laws to protect historic neighborhoods. Did any of those pass, get signed into law?
Thank you, Councilwoman Whitehead, Mayor Borowski, members of City Council. The ADU bill did get passed into law, and we've since incorporated into our zoning ordinance.
Sorry, I meant the follow-up laws to protect historic neighborhoods.
Yeah, so there was the middle housing bill.
Correct.
Which got passed. That received quite a bit of press from residents in the city of Phoenix. There was a growing interest from the legislature to hopefully revisit that, and that did not occur. So you're in that regard, you're correct.
Okay, so I had a different question, but and I'll follow up with you on this, Les. Do you know, I think this is an Adam question, the designated triangle building, I call it the triangle building on Indian School, if that's moving forward?
Yeah, Councilwoman Whitehead, members of City Council, that's the Kimsey building, and that project is moving forward. I know staff internally have processed a review of their design guidelines, and that they'll be rehabilitating that building in accordance with what City Council approved.
Super exciting.
I don't see any other questions or comments, but I do have one question. How often do you interface with Joan Fadala? Ever?
Mayor Borowski, members of City Council, occasionally we do. I know Joan has a huge presence with Scottsdale Historical Society in terms of making sure that the stories of Scottsdale continue. But we certainly enjoy interacting when we do have those opportunities, as well as other kind of well-known historians for the community like Doug Sidnor and others. But again, that's our experience.
She'd probably make a great guest visitor if you gave her 10 minutes.
If I'm not mistaken, I think she was actually on the original Historic Preservation Commission.
Probably.
At the start of this whole effort. So yes, thank you.
All right, thank you both. We appreciate it. Thank you for your service. Next, we have Human Services Advisory Commission and Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board. And we'll hear from Staff Representative Mary Witkowski and Chair Roger Lurie. Welcome.
Good evening, Mayor, members of the council. My name is Mary Witkowski, and I'm currently serving in the role as Interim Human Services Director and Housing and Community Assistance Manager and the staff representative for both the Human Services Commission and Scottsdale Housing Governing Board. To the right of me is Roger Lurie. He is our current chair of the Human Services Commission, and he is ending his second term as the chair based on our bylaws. So he's happy to be here tonight to present with us. So the first, we'll talk about the Human Services Commission. The purpose of the Human Services Advisory Commission is to provide advisory recommendation to staff and City Council on human services priorities and programs. The Commission also reviews and suggests funding allocations for Scottsdale Cares, Community Development Block Grants, Home Investment Partnerships, and Human Services Emergency and General Funds. The Human Services Advisory Commission consists of 7 members appointed by City Council. Then when we look at the makeup of the Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board, they oversee the City of Scottsdale's Housing Choice Voucher Program. The Scottsdale Housing Agency Governing Board consists of 8 members. The 7 sitting members of the Human Services Advisory Commission, appointed by City Council, and 1 Scottsdale Housing Choice Voucher participant member required by federal regulations. The Scottsdale Housing Board program participant member shall be appointed annually and serve a 1-year term. We have had a HCV participant sit on the panel previously. Currently, we are seeking one. And I will turn it over to Chair Lurie to talk about our accomplishments.
Good afternoon, Mayor Borowski and members of the council. We're going to separate Human Services Commission from Housing Agency Governing Board, specifically with the Human Services Commission. One of our accomplishments was the increase of Scottsdale Cares funding. That program has existed for 30 years at $1 per month. Raising it to $2 per month enables us to do significantly more in terms of supporting vulnerable residents in our community. In 2025, under the leadership of the Human Services Department. There was a strategic plan passed with input from many residents of the community, and we completed 1 year of that plan, and I think with great success, and look forward to the second year and beyond. And then evaluation and allocation of annual funding process. So as Mary had mentioned, that's the review of proposals for community development block grant, home, Scottsdale Cares, general funds, endowment funds, and so forth. In all, the commission reads roughly about 2,000 pages of proposals. It's a pretty intense period for our commission in the January, February, March timeframe. And next slide. Okay. Key accomplishments for the Housing Agency Governing Board, which again is oversight of that Section 8 public housing. I really want to applaud the Human Services staff under Mary Wachowski's leadership. They attained a high performer. I know this is kind of a mouthful. The Housing Agency High Performer on Section 8 Management Assessment Program. That means that there is really intensely complex reporting that they need to do to the federal government, and they have really excelled at that and really deserve a lot of credit in that. In addition, passing a public housing agency annual plan and then housing agency administrative plan for 2026. Next slide. Current and future opportunities and challenges as it pertains to the Human Services Commission, continuing strategic analysis of federal and state funding. And we have seen a significant decrement in the amount of money that's available for emergency support, particularly from the federal government. And looking for more community collaboration, opportunities for us as a commission, for you all as mayor and city council to be advocates for that funding, to ensure that our vulnerable seniors, families with small children, and veterans remain housed and remain with their utilities enabled. I have recently done outreach, for example, to the McKinney-Vento rep from Scottsdale Unified School District, and there's roughly about 250 children in Scottsdale schools without permanent housing, and making sure that we're able to support those people. So I think that really leads to this last bullet, strengthening efforts to support the vulnerable residents, elderly, disabled, veterans, low income. And I think it's incumbent upon us to look for collaboration with nonprofit agencies and faith-based organizations to support that. And next slide. And then as it pertains to the Housing Agency Governing Board, continue cost-saving measures to stay within our 2026 funding, and then maintaining housing for families that are currently receiving housing choice vouchers through Section 8. And I think with that, we are concluded, and we'll take questions.
All right, Councilwoman Whitehead.
Thank you, Mayor, and thanks both of you. On the Section 8, are we seeing an increase or a decrease in vouchers and also properties that in Scottsdale that one could use for the vouchers? How are we doing on that?
Mayor Borowski, members of the commission, that is a great question. We have 542 families that are currently leased here in the city of Scottsdale. We have 780 vouchers that we may lease up. However, we are constrained to stay within our current budgetary authority granted by HUD. And so 542 is right about where we sit. The average per unit cost that we have to pay for rental subsidy is about $1,300 a month per HCV participant, depending on family size and composition. The HCV participants are still required to pay between 30 and 40% above and beyond that per unit cost that we're paying. And I forgot your second question. Do we have enough landlords? We do maintain a current property listing, and I am happy to say that we have over 250 landlords participating with the Housing Choice Voucher Program, and plenty of places currently for them to go. However, they're affordable to those that have a voucher, but not necessarily affordable to those who do not.
Okay, so and I'm not an expert in this. So we have enough landlords, we have enough vouchers, we have a budget problem.
Mayor, members of the council, we don't have a budget problem because we have implemented cost-saving measures to ensure that all families remain housed. So the budget authority, I will tell you that HUD has across the nation, has $1 billion shortfall for Housing Choice Voucher Program. But that does not mean that the city of Scottsdale has a budget problem per se. It just means that we are operating within the budget that we currently have.
Sorry, I'm going to be obtuse here. We have enough landlords, we have enough vouchers, but we're not filling all the properties we have with families that need housing. What's the missing ingredient?
Mayor, members of the commission, HUD funding it for more money.
So the federal government?
The federal government.
Okay.
The city of Scottsdale is managing its funding as it is required to and not going over, so we end up in shortfall. Okay. But HUD doesn't have enough funding, and we've been directed by the administration, the federal administration, to implement cost-saving measures across the board, which includes no issuance of housing choice vouchers.
Okay, and I'm not going to get into this here because it's a long afternoon, but at some point, I mean, if there are some metrics like how, because I'm hearing that Arizona has the maybe the most severe cuts to food assistance. So maybe it would be good to know what those implications are here in Scottsdale. And if a family comes to one of our centers, are we able to help them? Just some guidelines on where we are in terms of being able to help those in need here in our community, and what the funding changes are roughly, so that we can have some sort of goal setting on how we can fill that gap. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Thank you, Vice Mayor McKellen.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Mr. Laurie, for your service, and thank you, Mary, for your presentation. I have two questions. About how much money do you anticipate receiving now that the donation for CARES is $2? And then my second is more of a comment. I wanted to congratulate your food bank in getting your new refrigerated truck, and I know how hard they work to do that. So congratulations. And if you could explain the food truck and what that is after the CARES money.
Mayor, members of the council, our Scottsdale CARES, the annual revenue to date last year for fiscal year 25-26 was about $143,000. The increase took effect July 1st, and so I don't have those numbers directly in front of me, but we hope to have that doubled. And then with regards to the food truck, you want to know what we do with the food truck?
Well, if you could just explain to the public the food truck.
Scottsdale Community Partners is our nonprofit that we work directly with in the Human Services Department and oversees in the connection through St. Mary's Food Bank. The food truck and the retrofit was definitely a community collaboration, and if I forget a partner, my apologies. It was Scottsdale Community Partners, Honor Health, Blue Zone, and the Firefighters Association Association, as well as the Elks Lodge, that came forward to help us retrofit that for refrigeration as well as to wrap it. So I hope that you guys have all seen the amazing photo of the food wrap that really represents our food bank that's driving around. We have about 15 grocers, including Amazon as one of them, as one of our pickups on a daily basis. That run occurs around 6 o'clock every morning. 2 or 3 of the staff members go out, bring that fresh produce, bring that fresh meat and milk back, and then we actually distribute it that same day, and it goes through a sorting process. So we're really excited to serve about 120 people per week at the food bank. That does not include healthy packs, which is about 480 Scottsdale Unified students. Then we have the brown bags, in addition to emergency food boxes and the special Food Plus program for our seniors.
All right, I don't see any other comments or questions. Thank you very much. Thank you for your service, Roger. Appreciate you. Oh, hi. Hi, welcome. Kira.
Sorry to jump in, but I just wanted to add a little bit to what Mary was mentioning about the food truck and how excited we were about the food truck. And she was recognizing some of our partners. And I really did want to take an opportunity to recognize Councilwoman Dabauskas for really getting the ball rolling with that. So I know that Mary's up here and wanted to make sure we just recognized everybody who was instrumental. So just wanted to take an opportunity to come up and make sure to recognize that work as well, because it really got us started. So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor.
All right, thank you for the presentation. Keep up the good work. Next, we have the Scottsdale IDA, Industrial Development Authority. I see we've got Staff Representative Josh Utterback and IDA President Edgar Alvarado. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor Borowski and members of the City Council. My name is Josh Utterback with the Economic Development Department, Program Manager, and I am the staff liaison for the Scottsdale Industrial Development Authority, also known as the Scottsdale IDA. I'm pleased to introduce you to Edgar Alvarado. He was elected president in December of 2025, and take it away.
Thank you, Josh, and thank you, Mayor and City Council, for giving us the opportunity to present Scottsdale ADA. So let's go to the first slide. So here we go. Is this it? I think we have to back up. Is that the first slide, Jack?
Yeah.
Okay. So the purpose of the Scottsdale IDA is to essentially issue out taxable and tax-exempt financing. And what that provides is comparable financing from banks. But what's important is that we're able to be very competitive, because some of these financing vehicles can be tax exempt from federal tax and from state tax. So that allows us to provide financing to local businesses at 200 to 300 percentage points below what a typical bank financing or other type of financing could cost. And for a small business in Scottsdale, small to medium-sized business in Scottsdale, over a period of time, that can be substantial savings. The Scottsdale IDA, there's a couple points that I want to point out that with the Scottsdale IDA is the interaction with the City Council. One is this body appoints the members of the board. And number two, any transactions that we review and approve ultimately has to be approved by this body. So the mayor and city council has final approval of any transactions. So what are some of the key accomplishments? And we'll get to some of the challenges, but related challenges, the Scottsdale IDA has not issued a bond in 16 years. 2010 was the last time a bond issuance took place. So essentially, the challenge is people don't know that we're here, or didn't know, because we're kind of making headway there. And the good thing is, that was the challenge, but the good thing is people didn't know we were here, right? So it gave us an opportunity to basically rebrand the Scottsdale IDA and go out and reach to our constituency and be able to tell our story and what are some of the benefits that we can bring to them as a business in Scottsdale. So we have re-engaged multiple parties. So when you issue a bond, there's many parties involved, not just the city council, not just us, but there's bond counsel. Obviously, there's the business that's bringing the project to us for financing, and they engage bond counsel as well. There's underwriters that are involved. There's a bond trustee that's involved, which is typically a bank. So there's a lot of parties involved in a typical transaction. So part of the challenge is how do we start bringing some of those bodies to the table and start being able to assist us in restarting the application process, the review process, the approval process, et cetera. So while we're still in the early stages of doing that, we feel we've made significant headway in the last 6 months. We have increased our market awareness. We've joined this, we did join the Scottsdale Chamber of Commerce. We've attended a number of their events. We conducted a seminar back in June, which was very well received. We've talked to a number of potential businesses that are kicking the tires, so to speak, in terms of using us as alternative financing. So even though it's still early, we see traction in the marketplace. And to the extent any of you have any referrals, that would be also very helpful. We did pass a balanced budget this past June for our fiscal year. Prior to that, we were in the red, but we were able to pass a balanced budget. Part of our mandate is we have to be self-sustaining, right? So the city, doesn't provide any sort of financial support. We are supposed to be self-sustaining by issuing these bonds, and where we get a fee for doing so. So what are some of these opportunities? It's a multi-pronged approach, right? So because the Scottsdale idea has been dormant for a period of time, we have to do market outreach. We have to do market education. We have to let people know we're here. We have to involve all the related parties. As I had mentioned before, there's quite a few of them. So getting the application process, review process, approval process is going to be part of that opportunity to provide education and let people know that we're here and we're open for business. The last two, one is generate operating revenue. As I mentioned, we're self-funding. So if we don't issue out bonds, we don't earn a fee. And if we don't earn a fee, we have no revenue. And if we have no revenue, obviously we can't cover our expenses. So that is something that we're keenly aware of. And so we take that fiduciary responsibility very seriously. And here's the challenges, right? And at the end of the day, it's a couple things. One, we establish our brand into the marketplace, let people know we're open for business. Continue to oversee our financial condition in such a way that it's responsible oversight of what we have. Ultimately, to one goal, and that is to do a transaction. Because the Scottsdale idea has not done a transaction in 16 years, we want to change that. We want to change that sooner rather than later, but we understand that there's still some work to be done. But that's the ultimate goal. And obviously, as part of that is to show what are the economic benefits for what we do. If we do our job properly, which I think we are in really, really good shape in heading in that direction, it's a win-win for everybody. We provide below-market financing for small to medium-sized businesses in Scottsdale. They get to use these cost savings for their businesses, obviously. It provides the ability to retain jobs, improve economic infrastructure, attract new businesses because we can provide below market financing. And And it does generate fee revenue for us so that we can then use that fee revenue over and above beyond our cost to give grants. And we can give grants to other non-for-profits. Any questions, comments, feedback?
Councilman Graham.
Mayor, thank you. Thank you for the presentation. Yeah, I just feel like your biggest challenge is awareness. And so after you sort of source the transaction, what do you sell the transaction to? I mean, do you finance it? Where does the capital come from? And do you carry it and serve it, or do you transfer it and sell it?
So we serve as a conduit. And what we do is we match the financial needs of a project to investor appetite. So by issuing bonds, investors buy these bonds, and these are federally exempt. They can be state exempt, state tax, income tax exempt as well. So there could be multiple benefits. And so the investors then buy these bonds, which typically can be 10-year bonds, 15-year bonds, 20-year bonds. And they get an attractive rate of tax-free income. Mm-hmm. The businesses then benefit by us being able to pass through those savings so that they get below market financing. So for instance, a typical bank today for a 10-year business loan might charge 8 to 10% interest. Yeah. We can provide financing at maybe 6 to 8%. Right. So it could have substantial impact to a small business.
Who actually services the loan? Like if I'm the borrower, who do I make my debt payments out to?
That typically is a bank trustee.
Yeah.
So a bank would serve as a trustee. They would receive the funds from the issuance of the bonds, and then they would monitor the development of the project as it gets constructed and developed, and then they release the funds as needed, and they also then collect the principal interest payments and then forward that to the investors.
As conduit, do you guys do any guarantee? Do you guarantee or any full faith or credit or anything like that? Do you have the ability to do that, to lower the interest?
No, we do not. At the end of the day, we have no liability to any of these transactions. And I think that's a very important consideration to highlight. Call it the full liability of providing the principal and interest falls on the borrower, which is typical arrangement.
Do you have to be a Scottsdale-based business, or can you just have a location here?
Well, actually, my understanding is that we essentially have no geographic limits. We can go anywhere in the U.S. and its territories. So I'm trying to set up, maybe we should look at a project in Puerto Rico, right? That could be,
do you have business contacts
could be
there?
Interesting.
Yeah.
But no, my focus, however, has been, because the Scottsdale idea has been dormant for such a long time, our focus has been that our first few transactions should be Scottsdale-based. So in other words, we should focus on our backyard and ensure that our efforts are focused on benefiting businesses in Scottsdale. Can we go outside of Scottsdale after that? Yeah, we can. We can go to other municipalities.
But there's no requirement to have any footprint from a business in Scottsdale to qualify for the benefits of the IDA?
No.
Is there any type of limitation on what kind of entity you can be? Can it be a nonprofit, or can it be a public or private company? I mean, does it?
Yeah, it can be a non-for-profit, it could be a school, it could be healthcare facilities, it could be a community center, a private business. So our mandate is pretty broad in nature.
I just imagine that you would have maybe like nonprofits or something that, or churches or something like that. I don't know if those ever.
I haven't seen churches, but we've certainly seen, call it a non-for-profit. Could be a housing agency or a non-for-profit healthcare, facility. And those are things that we would be able to look at. And as long as they qualify, and, when I say qualify, there's a lot of hurdles that need to be met.
Right.
Essentially IRS hurdles.
Right.
Then, yeah, we would be able to look at it.
Well, thank you for coming today, Mr. Alvarado and Mr. Utterback. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councilwoman Whitehead.
Just a quick question. It does have to have a public benefit.
Yes, it does.
Okay.
We have to show that a potential project has an economic positive impact to the community. And when I say community, I'm saying Scottsdale. Yeah.
All right. Thank you for the presentation. Appreciate it. Next, we have the Lost Trust Fund Board. And we'll see Staff Representative George Woods and Chair Jacob Seltzer, who are approaching the table. Welcome. Looks like we have a bunch of others, too. Oh, no, they're leaving. At least one other.
Hi, good afternoon.
Hi there. Would you like to introduce yourself there? You're with the city.
I'm Denise Bug.
Yeah. It just wasn't on here. I'm sorry.
This is Denise. You guys don't know Denise?
I do know Denise, but her name's not on my, George is the one as the staff rep.
Yes, Denise is my
Listed on my program
And our
tonight,
lead.
so just didn't want to leave you out.
Good afternoon, Mayor, council members. This is our chairman, Jacob Seltzer. He'll be assisting me during this presentation here. I am George Woods, the director of the Safety and Risk Management Division. We'll be presenting on the Lost Trust Fund Board today. Jacob.
So the city of Scottsdale set up a trust to hold the funds that are responsible for paying for your risk management, your insurance products, your liability, safety, all of those things. It separates these funds and allocates them directly to those programs. You have decided to have citizens involved in overseeing that board. So there's 5 of us in total, including, on top of that, Mr. Woods, who we support, and Chief Deputy Attorney Lori Davis, who also assists with us. And so through this program, we're overseeing not only your risk management, which is partially self-funded, your health benefits fall into this as well. These are all benefits that are going towards your employees. So this is kind of a big job for Mr. Woods and his department to impact your employees. And for those of us that are involved in it, we all have to have some sort of understanding of what it is that we're getting into. So myself, I have an insurance background. We have 3 others that have finance backgrounds. The City Council has done a great job of selecting members to be part of this board. And I think when you hear what Mr. Woods has to say about the successes, it's going to reflect that as well.
Thank you, Chairman Seltzer. The Safety and Risk Management Division, under the leadership of the City Attorney, Luis Santaella, if we can get the 3rd slide, please. Thank you. Serves the City of Scottsdale by providing comprehensive expertise in workplace safety, loss prevention, insurance administration, contractual risk transfer, and claims management. The division is responsible for developing, implementing, and maintaining a best practice safety and risk management program for the city. Through proactive planning, collaboration with city departments, and data-driven decision-making, the division works to identify, evaluate, and mitigate potential risk. These efforts focus on protecting the people, as Chairman Seltzer referred to, city assets and public resources, while effectively managing the city's total cost of risk through the continuous improvement of safety, loss prevention, insurance, and claims programs. Some of the key accomplishments of the Lost Trust Fund Board include the presentation of the 2025 annual report related to the Safety and Risk Management Division. Some of the notable accomplishments within that report are the city received the 2026 Industrial Commission of Arizona Public Entity Partnership Program Large City of the Year Award. We were accompanied by the city attorney as well as the city manager to go down and accept that award. It was a joyous occasion. We also improved the city's experience modification, or EMOD, which is directly related to the injury experience as it pertains to the city. That is now sitting at 0.93, which is below the Industrial Commission standard of 1.10. This represents a 26.77% reduction over the previous year and also represents the city's lowest injury rate in over a decade. The presentation of the actuarial report as compiled by Oliver Wyman is also an accomplishment of our board.
If I could jump in, he's being a little humble. These are what I like to call the Woods era of this program. You have done an incredible job. Your staff has done an incredible job. The leaders, the supervisors, the managers of your departments have taken to heart the programs that have been implemented. The board itself is a very low instance of issues. I don't see Councilman Quasman tripping over chairs as he's going through the through the board here. So this is a very, very important accomplishment that the city has made over the last few years.
Thank you, Chairman. Upcoming opportunities include discussion on the appropriate funding confidence level in light of loss development. This kind of affects the risk rates that we charge other departments throughout the city, or the premium, if you will. We're also going to endeavor on discussion and consultation regards migrating towards a captive insurance model, in essence trying to control the amount that we're spending on insurance or excess insurance per fiscal year. With that concludes our presentation. Any questions, comments?
Thank you. I see Councilwoman Whitehead.
I just want to say thank you. And I also was sitting here thinking, well, that's understated because I've been here long enough to see dramatic improvements. So thanks, all of you.
Thank you. Well done. Appreciate your service.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations on your award.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
That's big. Next, we have the Parks and Recreation Commission. Kevin McKee is the staff representative, and Chair Michael Vreeland will join us.
All right. Good evening, Mayor Borowski, council members. Thanks so much for having us out this afternoon. Guess we're in between right now. My name is Kevin McKee. I'm a deputy director for our Parks and Recreation Department. I do, before we get started, just want to make a quick note of how much we appreciate our commission, the leadership by Chair Vreeland, who's to my right. I'm a lifelong Scottsdale resident. I love this city, and to work alongside these volunteers that aren't getting paid to be here, that care as much as I do about this awesome city is incredible. So thank you, Chair Vreeland. We will start things off with an overview on the commission makeup and purpose. We have 7 members on our commission that are appointed at large by the City Council, and they advise you all on a few different things. First being the acquisition of lands and facilities for use as parks or recreation centers. Second, the operation, use, care, and maintenance of these parks and recreation areas. And third is a new purpose that came alongside the voter-approved Parks and Preserve sales tax. They are now acting as the Citizens Oversight Committee for the implementation of that 0.15 tax as it relates to the use of revenues for all park improvements, capital projects, and master plans. So all of our large-scale capital projects, they are responsible for helping shape that budget. One other note, in 2025, this commission did celebrate 65 years as a body in Scottsdale, which I think is pretty incredible. And I think the most awesome part to that is the fact that this commission continues to stay relevant and just as impactful today as they were 65 years ago, really helping shape the future through this new funding source that we have. So with that, I will toss things over to Chair Michael Vreeland to speak on accomplishments.
Thank you, Kevin. Mayor, members of council, happy to be here today. This is exciting. It's been an exciting year to be a part of the Parks and Rec Commission. There's several new items we've been able to see, as well as examples of meeting the needs of our residents. I want to highlight a few of them here. You can see the first one, as Kevin mentioned, is the beginning of our oversight of the Parks and Preserve sales tax. So early last year, we gave our first recommended approval of our portion of that sales tax, which we know has different areas that it works with. There are extensive conversations about this, and we want to ensure, as we are starting this, that we're establishing some best practices. We want to help create rhythms and routines for us and for future commissions, knowing that we're looking at as a 30-year tax that is being started here. And so this is a citizen-approved opportunity that we want to make sure we're looking at the perspective correctly as we get into it. So we get monthly updates on the budget and implementation of the Parks and Preserve sales tax, and that's something we look forward to each month, and has generated a lot of discussion monthly about where things are and how we're moving forward. Another item, hearing back from residents, we worked with city staff a lot to retool the youth sports field allocation. We approved new rules, and one of the things that came out of that was strengthening Scottsdale resident priority. As you can imagine, the demand for our sports fields far exceeds the inventory that we have available, and so being able to make sure that we're prioritizing residents for all of our different sports there is important. It's been a particular joy to see the Railroad Park Roundhouse open in time for the 50th anniversary of that park late last year. We worked with staff on the initial pilot fees for that new experience as well. So looking ahead, if we can go to the next slide. Our main priority is going to be continuing what I mentioned before, which is oversight of the Parks and Preserve sales tax. Each of us on the commission, we take this really seriously, this new initiative that's been put before us, but we're also very excited because the Parks and Preserve sales tax is an opportunity that will help transform Scottsdale's parks over the coming decades, especially those that are now, some of them, 60, 50 years old and older. So to that end, Aqua Linda, El Dorado, Paiute parks are slated to be the first that are redesigned, and we are hoping and we're planning, frankly, to be well into the design phase for Aqua Linda by the end of the year, which is exciting. Also front and center for us is the upcoming Cactus Pool feasibility study. This is going to be an interesting and dynamic conversation of what to do with that facility, because we're looking at several different kinds of shareholders too. There's residents, there's pool users, there's people that use the park for other reasons. So it's going to be an interesting experience. And mostly with this next point about attending events and celebrations, I want to commend the hard work and the creativity of the Parks and Rec staff. There are so many great events and celebrations throughout our park system, and we're going to get to experience a lot of those, especially as we head into the better weather eventually. It's a joy and it's an honor to be able to serve and attend at these. And I know many of you on council also take opportunities to go attend, whether it's outside this building or the railroad park or many other places along the park system. And then this last challenge, the last thing that we want to think about moving forward is balancing the Parks and Preserve sales tax with other capital projects. So the sales tax is pay as you go. And it generates revenue to be able to accomplish the things under which it's given purview. But other projects like Cactus, like Indian School Park, two large projects, are going to need significant capital investment from other sources. And so it's balancing what is the sales tax able to accomplish, what do we need to look elsewhere for, just because the scale of those two things is different. So we're constantly having conversations about that as we're looking at we have some conceptual stuff, but as we were actually move forward into design with some of those, there would need to be, more conversations around how we're going to fund all of that. So, yeah. And with that, if I have any questions or thoughts.
Thank you very much. Councilwoman Whitehead.
So thanks, you guys, and you know how excited I am. And I want to echo about your staff, the creativity, everything that you guys put out when there is an event. It's just amazing. I mean, resort level marketing here, right here, and resort level parks and amenities. The cactus is a bond project. I can't remember, and I know there's some problems. Hopefully we have enough money in the bonds for that. Was Indian School, was that a bond? I can't even remember. I don't think it was.
Councilwoman Whitehead, Mayor Borowski, council members, the Indian School Park project there's not been any identified funding for that. About 2 years ago, we went through a master planning process to really reimagine what the future could look like, knowing that a funding source hadn't been identified. Our rough ROM cost for that project, if it were to be as it was spelled out in that master plan, would be about $140 million. So yes, as of right now, we don't have an identified funding source for that.
And I just want to mention, I think it's worth mentioning that the Prop 490 takes away from this maintenance and this other stuff so that, in fact, we can move forward with our budget, our parks budget. So I hope we get there. And I don't want to forget we're waiting on the drainage, but the pickleball courts at the Pima Park. So I'm keeping an eye on that. Thanks, you guys.
Vice Mayor McCallum.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for your service, Mr. Vreeland. And Mr. McKee, I was trying not to laugh when the former Commissioner George Woods was up here, or the staff, because that used to be your father's job when worked for the city back in the day. So talking about being lifelong, loving the city, every staff member, whether they've been here lifelong or not, gives that impression in Parks and Rec. Obviously, it's where I started in the city back in 1984. But long before that, wanting to be a rec leader because of Bill X and because of Bob Frost, were in my neighborhood, at our neighborhood grade school. I just want to make sure and continue that sort of involvement with the school district. I know you already do that, but any way that we can continue to support that neighborhood school, even the neighborhood charter schools, the Y that's now at Tonalea, all of those things that we continue to work together with those groups gives us that all Scottsdale feel. And I know you didn't even say half the accomplishments that you guys, the awards you received this year at APRA. I know there are many, so thank you for all your work, and to the other, to the Director Molinari and to Chris back there. So thank you all very much.
Thank you. And Councilman Graham.
Mayor, thank you. It's good to see you both at the dog park opening on Friday. Did you enjoy yourselves? Was it cool enough for you?
Jeez. We were sweating bullets up there, but we had lots of smiling faces and happy dogs up there, so that's what it's all about.
I'd like to see a few more social media videos out of you.
I think it's fair to say you can expect that in the very near future. Yeah.
Let's see it. Let's hit it. Cactus Pool. I think that's a bond project. So I really think you guys could work with the bond oversight committee. They're going to have a say in that. I think the issue with that is that the authorization in the bond is just substantially lower than kind of what the reality for the price tag is. So I do think there should be some coordination with them on that. And I don't know what that looks like exactly. But I think when those projects are there's sort of a Venn diagram for some of those projects, I think you can get some benefits from some collaboration. So, yeah, Councilmember Dabauskas mentions Budget Review Commission is also going to look at that. Not to tie you down to too much bureaucracy, but I mean, we have multiple commissions looking at one thing, but we're taking different approaches and we have different purposes. So, what do you do? Are they going to reach out to you? Or going to reach out to them? I don't have the answer for you right now, and so I hope that there can be some connection, some nexus, and really just any of these projects. And so I'm really excited about especially South Scottsdale moving north, what we're going to do for some of these aging parks that we've already seen big improvements at Vista del Camino, at some of our other parks. Excited to see what goes on there. So thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Quasman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I just want to say thank you for all the hard work you're doing. I want to make sure moving forward that we have a very fiscally astute understanding of of the costs of these parks and where we're going to land before we start spending money. I mean, I see the costs and the overruns and everything, and I understand that some are voter approved, and so the money has to be spent. But I just want to remind members of the council that we are also fiscal stewards, and that there are needs and there are wants. And I know Scottsdale is a prosperous city. We need to make sure that we are looking at our police and our roads first and making sure that the needs are met, and then we can move on to all the other parts that make Scottsdale beautiful and incredible. But with that, thank you for all you do.
Thank you. I don't see any other questions. Great job. It looks like you're having all the fun, so that's great. Good choice on the commission.
Thank you.
Do you get to test out the new parks before the opening?
He gets free rides on the merry-go-round. All right, last but not least, we have the Veterans Advisory Commission and staff representatives Chris Coffey and Virginia Bermudez, and of course, Chairperson Justin Lehman. Welcome. Welcome. Oh, yeah, of course. Please proceed.
All right. Good afternoon, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. My name is Justin Lehman. I serve as the chair of the Veterans Advisory Commission. I'm going to hope that I have control of this command thing here. I do. Okay. Before I talk about our commission and purpose, let me first explain some changes to our staff, because you might be wondering why I have Commander Coffey and the interim director of Strategic Services, I was close, at the Scottsdale Police Department. So late last spring, the city went through some reorganization, and our commission is now staffed by Assistant Chief Chris Watson. He, unfortunately, is having a lot of fun at the National Training Center in Quantico, so he couldn't be here today, so he's asked Commander Coffey and Virginia to step in with me here. And so also because this transition over the summer between our staff happened over the summer, and our commission takes a break, we just felt it might be easier if I do the lion's share of today's discussion. So if you don't mind, I'm gonna, and Commander Coffey is notoriously shy, so he doesn't like to speak. So very good. So the commission's purpose and makeup, as you can see, there are 7 of us. 5 of us have to be veterans or serving in a veteran service organization. So we have 1 member who serves as the president of the American Legion Auxiliary, which is kind of what spouses are when their spouses are members of the American Legion. Our vice chair is actually currently Donna Tu, who's the director of the military partnership at Honor Health. The information we're going to cover today is from our annual report, which was issued in January. So I think if the clerk, if Ben wants us to shift our calendar from the fiscal year from the calendar year to the fiscal year, that might be something we can look at for next year. So you guys kind of have, but this kind of just covers 2025. Yes. Okay, very good. Oh, and then our purpose and makeup. So we advise you on veteran programs, policies, practices designed to improve the quality of life. And we serve as a community connection point for veterans and the community where they live. There's a few other things that we do, but that gives you just a very short version of what we do on the commission. At a glance, so again, like I said, we don't meet in July or August, but you can see that these are just the dates. We like using graphics. Go Army. Some key accomplishments and major actions taken. You heard a brief reference to, Madam Mayor, you mentioned Joan Fudala. And so National POW MIA Day, over the summer last year, Joan reached out to the commission and staff about creating a special event for National POW MI Day. And we hosted that at the Community Design Studio. It was pretty well received. There's some photos later. But that was a nice highlight of something that we did. Scottsdale Salutes, of course, that's our ongoing program where we honor and recognize veterans from the community for the first 2 weeks in November with giant banners throughout the Old Town area. There's about 48 banners. Councilman DeBoscus, last summer you had asked us about being a Purple Heart City. So we are a Purple Heart City. Mayor Jim Lane in May of 2015. I also speak at pace. That's an Army thing. So if I'm going too fast, watch the rerun. So Mayor Jim Lane offered us, created a proclamation designating the city as a Purple Heart City. And of course, Councilwoman DeBoscus, you reached out and said, what could we do? Now, unfortunately, Purple Heart Day is in August, which is pretty toasty. So what we did do is we set aside a single banner to recognize the city's commitment to Purple Heart veterans as part of Scottsdale Salute, so we can get that kind of awareness out. And then also, again, with the Purple Heart stuff, when we do the National POW MIA Day, we had 2 veterans that spoke, and each of them had been wounded in combat. Scottsdale Salutes also hosts a reception, and I'm pleased to be able to sit here tonight and tell you that we will continue to be at Canal Convergence this year. Last year, we partnered with Scottsdale Arts to host that reception as part of Canal Convergence. It was well received. Ordinarily, the reception is limited to the individual honorees or those veterans that we're recognizing and their families. So usually about 80 folks in attendance. Last year was over 200. And I want to tell you that it was a pretty powerful moment for us as a city to have, when that national anthem started, to have everyone stop. This year, Scottsdale Arts has convinced, I suppose, or recruited the United States Commodore's Navy Jazz Band to play. So the band will play. Our reception is planned to happen before it, and we're working on something special that I can hopefully announce a little bit later for the interim. The Bentley Polo Army match, I think as part of your consent agenda yesterday, you may approve some funding for that program. The Army and Navy have polo teams. And Madam Mayor, you may remember this because I saw you last year. You rode out with the American flag as part of that. But we had 2 veterans from Vietnam who dropped the ball to kick off that game. This year we plan to have 2 police officers who are both veterans, and they'll drop the ball to kick off the Army and Navy. So 1 Army veteran, 1 Navy veteran. And then we piloted a community service program last year at the Community Design Studio. I'm going to go. Oh, we've got more. All right. So we saw a presentation on Thunderbird 2 fields, for those of you who don't know. Scottsdale Air Park was Thunderbird 2, where many pilots were trained as in World War II. A local resident, one of our former commissioners, Steve Zymek, raised money and bought the aircraft and brought it back to Scottsdale Air Park, where it hangs today. We've looked at some legislative recommendations. That was one of the things that we had looked at last year to try to track concerns through the state legislature. I mean, you all know how important it is to be mindful of what's going on at the State House because they seem to enjoy coming down to the local level to spelunk. And so we took a look at some things with that. And then the Memorial for the Fallen. This is an ongoing process. The city staff are working hard to get this 2 additional names. I know Councilman Graham, you've been aware about this. We are working to get it. It's just, it isn't quite as easy as getting a hammer and chisel out there. So we're hopeful to try to get this done for May of next year. And then the Veterans AZ Outreach, that's our ongoing program where we broadcast interviews for residents, so veterans that are residents, business owners that are veterans, or just any kind of issues. And it's through our Scottsdale Video Network. They produce that through the communications team. You can see why they made me do this, right? So some photos. Something else, we started this a couple of years ago, the Parada del Sol. So we invite all the veterans that participate in the Scottsdale Salutes program to come and walk in the Parada, and we organize a float for them. All right, so some stuff for this upcoming year. I guess I can announce that we are moving Veterans Day back to McCormick-Stillman Railroad Park. We're pretty excited about that. I know Nick and his staff have been pretty helpful. We've met several times over the summer to kind of plan what that looks like. Everything's on track. It will be different, but so far, I do think it's going to afford us a wonderful opportunity. It also allows veterans locally to attend the larger Phoenix Parade and have enough time to come home to Scottsdale and enjoy our celebration. So we're hopeful that'll be exciting. You heard from Human Services earlier tonight. Yeah, I've got a lot of stuff I'm covering, right? So fantastic. Last week, I met with the Human Service Commission. We piloted this program, Adopt a Veteran, last year. I know, Councilman Littlefield, this has been a long-time passion of you with just Human Services and the Adopt a Senior and the Adopt a Family program. Those two programs, the funding for them come through Scottsdale Community Partners, but the city administers them. So in other words, the city acts as the kind of qualifying staff to make sure that they're needs-based. We've moved forward with so the pilot was pretty successful. We kind of ironed out some stuff, but really what we've tried to do is we've tried to take any veteran residents who are on a VASH, that's the veteran version of the housing voucher, incorporate them into Adopt a Family or Adopt a Senior, and then separately provide additional resources for veterans that may exceed the federal limit, so maybe not qualify for the current program guidelines, and then we can still provide the similar program. So it will be the Thanksgiving and Christmas kind of program, if you're familiar with Adopt a Family or Adopt a Senior. So very excited that program is in full speed, and I'm looking forward to see what Human Services as far as the head count. And then the community series is going to be back this October. So for 4 Thursdays in October, we're going to be presenting a series of workshops at Granite Reef Community Center. It's very, very exciting. So you can see, I think they've got posters done, and that's in partnership with Human Services. And again, partly with the veteran population in South Scottsdale in particular. They tend to skew older, and we want to be mindful. So we're trying to give them some tools and some connection points, both for the city and just to the broader community. Veterans AZ, so these are some of our challenges. Veterans AZ continuation. I think it's an important program, but that's really ultimately a decision for staff. So we'll keep you abreast as they let us know what their intentions are. But so far as I understand, I do expect it to continue. And again, that program broadcasts on our local public access channel. The legislation tracking, it's something that's of particular concern for the veterans on the commission. They like to know these issues. As a city, we don't really have necessarily a lot of authority or jurisdiction to take particular action for veterans issues. That's really at the federal level or at the state level. So being mindful, we can help inform you of things that you might want to bend an ear if you've got that kind of power. And then veteran data and demographics, we're always working with city, and one of the big accomplishments this past summer is with Human Services and the staff to get a better idea of the veteran population as far as in the Human Services environment. All right, that was 2025. Any questions, Madam Mayor?
Excellent. Thank you, Justin. Appreciate it. Very good presentation. Councilman Glassman.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Thank you guys for all you do. I really want to work with you all on the following things moving forward, if that's possible. I know you're doing your workshops that you just talked about at the community center, but I want to make sure that Scottsdale joins other cities to be an Arizona at Work partner and work with Maricopa County, providing young entrepreneur veterans the ability to have that on-the-job training, and there's training benefits, there's grants, there's so many things that Maricopa County itself provides that I want to make sure that you guys take the lead and are there. We could do workshops at libraries. We could do so much. Almost a career accelerator for veterans is something that I think that this council would be very much interested in. Benefits, perhaps we need a liaison from you all to do a benefits navigator, to facilitate local grants, somebody who just doesn't know where to begin, something that our city website can have that moving forward, as well as, like you said before, the career, the counseling that's there. But I want to make sure that in a world of growing prices and affordability issues, that our veterans are not left behind. And so economically, I think that that's something not just to focus on veterans who are senior citizens, but veterans coming back from service right now that are young. So something I'm happy to take a lead on that with you all, and just want to offer my services whenever you can.
Thank you, Councilman Quasman and Madam Mayor and members of council. I was smiling a little bit because we actually do have a program. So it isn't technically, well, I guess I'll get. I haven't presented this to the commission yet, so which is in September 3rd, next Wednesday. No. It's just we take a break, and so. But together with the Scottsdale Area Chamber of Commerce, we have put together a 5-week Veterans Accelerator. So I spoke with our previous Economic Development Director, Tilly Gilger, and she kind of signed off. It's structured around kind of what we would consider a residency requirement. So be a Scottsdale resident, be a veteran, or a good faith belief that you will start your business in Scottsdale, we'll say, right? And so that program is going to kick off in, it's Saturdays in October. So it's 5 Saturdays in October, and then we'll finish up on Veterans Day. The state does operate what's called Be Connected, which is and it's through the Arizona Coalition of Military Families. We have all of those items on our website. The real challenge is, and I think this is what you're getting to, is when you have a veteran suffering from any kind of mental distress, so PTSD or whatever that looks like, substance abuse, it is very, very difficult to try to address that. There are separate silos or pathways for veterans. One of the biggest challenges is that what is defined as a veteran, there's a structural issue there. You're a veteran if you retired from the United States Armed Services. You're a veteran if you served overseas. If you served in the National Guard, you do not necessarily qualify as a veteran, and you're ineligible for any kind of veteran, which also means that the city cannot help you. There's nothing to be done. All of the veterans within Human Services presently are referred to the city through the VA. Problem there, though, is that only about half of even the eligible veterans are within the VA system. So unless you were given VA health care or knew that you were eligible for VA health care at some point, you would have no idea. But the city has taken steps. For example, with the police department, we have a separate criminal justice process for veterans. And so the Justice Court, and actually I think our city judge was instrumental in getting the program created many years ago. And so that's one thing that maybe not necessarily our resident veterans, but some of our visitors who have a little bit too much fun in Old Town and our veterans, we might be a little bit more helpful to make their stay a little bit less unpleasant for getting out of hand while being in an Old Town. So I think I addressed everything that you had mentioned, but if not, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely, yeah. Especially on the training side, yeah.
Thank you. And I see Councilman Graham would like to say something.
You mentioned the Memorial of the Fallen. Yeah, I think that that's a great memorial, and that was like a volunteer effort put together over years. I think that I think it can be improved a little bit if the criteria about names, inclusion was maybe, I get it. Like, there's only so much what they accomplished, we should just probably focus on that. But there could be a few more names that belong there, and so something.
Sure, Councilman Graham, Madam Mayor, members of council. The challenge the city's had hasn't been with our requirements. It's really getting sign off from the family members.
That's the other aspect. Is that you have to respect.
You just have to be mindful. Correct.
You have
sir.
to respect their participation and what they're interested in, and so. Yeah.
But if we are, I think we're both speaking about the same particular case. My understanding is that the family has now signed off on that, and that is one of the names that we would add to it. It just, the challenge I was speaking to is really just trying to find a vendor willing to make the improvements or corrections, to put the new names on. It's tough because if they damage it,
Yeah, I know. There's a lot to consider, so.
Yeah.
All right. Vice Mayor McKellen.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm excited that your commission is now housed in the police department. There are so many officers that are former military that I think it's a natural fit. I I can't imagine you could possibly do any more as a commission, but if it's possible, they're going to help you. So congratulations. Thank you for all your work, and your commissioners. All of your commissioners work nonstop. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Vice Mayor. Yeah.
Thank you very much. Welcome, I guess, to the commission, and great job, Justin. I know how passionate you are, and we appreciate you and your passion. Thank you.
Mayor. You guys have a good afternoon.
Thank you all. All right, that concludes our boards and commissions and committee reports and our business for the special meeting. And we will see you back here probably a little bit after 5, maybe take a 20-minute break. Everyone good with that? Anybody? All right. Thank you. Adjourned.
Thank you.